Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grants and Government Contracting Podcast. If you are joining us live, it's good to see everybody here. My name is Abraham. I am your host here for the day, and my co host, she is not here with me today. So you have me all to yourself. So if you're joining us live here, or if you're watching this on replay, thank you for hanging out with us here. Again, my name is Abraham. I'm your host for the Grants and Contracting podcast here. Today we have some really exciting things to talk about. One is I've started to see some big shift that's happening in the government contracting marketplace. And so the government contracting marketplace, we've seen some big shift in the last few months, but I starting to see the tide changing where contracts are being released. Contracting officers are feeling a tremendous amount of pressure. And so they're awarding contracts as we speak right now. And part of today's topic, we're going to be going into the pressure the contracting officers are feeling and the need to put out awards. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about the end of the year gold rush and how to win big with the end of the fiscal year that is right here at our doorsteps right here. So that's what we'll be talking about, the how to take advantage of the end of the year fiscal spending. We're going to be looking at the federal fiscal year, looking at the state, the county, the commercial, the private sector fiscal year, and fiscal year for small business as well. Why that's important, why that matters to you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So today's podcast is more of a class, more of a training so that you can really dive deep into how to really maximize the pressure that contracting officers are feeling right now, where they have to put out all these different awards because with Doge and with the new administration, with the tariffs, with all the different changes that's happening, a lot of contracts have not been put out. So now the need to put out projects are very urgent right now. So today is probably one of the a super critical lesson podcast for you to be part of. If you're joining us live, if you can do me a favor, put in the comment area your company name and where you're joining us from, and then your industry, what niche, what industry, what marketplace you're in. So that's today's topic. With that, we do have some bonuses to give out to everybody. And so if you stick to the end of the podcast here, we got some uh, three really good goodies. The link to the PowerPoint, the link to some of the bonuses. We're going to be looking at an email sample that you can use to market to contracting officers for the end of the fiscal year. So we're going to be looking at that as well. So stick around, and we're going to be sharing some really goodies with everybody. And then we're going to go ahead and dive right on in here. So if you're joining us live, put in the comment in the comments area your company name, where you're joining us from, and what niche, what market you're in. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we will dive in here. So I see some of you guys putting some comments in there. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for hanging out with me. Let me share my screen. Okay. Um, this is what we're going to be talking about, the end of the year gold rush and why this matters to your business. And with the end of the fiscal year here, it's an opportunity for you to start winning contracts because opportunities have been on hold because of all the changes that's happening. The government must still award contracts because government is not going anywhere, right? Yes, we're going through some transformative times, but government's going to continue to spend. Money is going to always going to be there. We're talking about maybe the government's trying to cut anywhere from 10 to 20% of their spending, but we're talking about billions and billions of dollars that's available out there. And you as a business, yes, there may be some, you may be feeling the uncertainty, and yes, there may be some all type of different news that's putting inside of you some fear or and some concern. My thought is this here: in the middle of chaos, there's opportunities. When things are when everybody is going through a whirlwind, this is the time for you to steady yourself. This is the time for you to be resilient. This is the time for you to adapt. This is the time for you to change and adjust so that you can be successful when everybody is scrambling. Now, let me relate this here back to the stock market. When everybody is saying you should sell this stock, sell, 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 that is the best time to buy. When everybody is saying you should be buying this, man, this stock is gonna go to the moon. When everybody in the marketplace is telling you to buy something, that's the time for you to not buy. That means when the general public is going in one direction, you should be very concerned that you should be going the opposite direction, right? That's market condition. And so by the time the masses is doing something, it's too late already for you. So you have to be looking to do the opposite. And so when everybody's like, oh no, should I get into the government market? Or is this the best time to get to the government market? Whatever the general public is thinking, you should be thinking this is a great time when everybody is frozen, they don't know what to do. This is the time for you to become stronger, for you to be better, for you to go and build relationship with contracting officer. Very practically is this here: some of the federal employees are being fired. Some of them are uncertain. Those that have not been fired, and that's just a small fraction, right? You were talking about between the federal, state, counties, and cities, there's 20 million employees. Let me say that again: 20 million employees, federal, state, counties, cities, local municipalities. They're cutting 10, maybe 15, maybe 20%. Now, some agencies going to see higher than some other agencies, but some of them are being rehired right now. So don't listen to all the news that you hear. Now, you should, there may be some lessons to be learned from the news that you're hearing, but don't let the news dictate how you run your business. Don't operate out of fear, operate out of strategy, operate out of strategic planning, operate out of resiliency, operate out of a understanding that, you know what, the government's not going anywhere. Money is still going to be spent. So that's really what we're going to be talking about: how to take advantage of all the changes, specifically the fiscal year. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. A little bit about myself. My name again is Abraham. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I've started multiple companies. I've sold 2 businesses. I am a small business advocate, founded the Government Contract Association so that we can teach, train, and equip businesses to succeed in the government market. Since we've done this here, we've trained over 15,000 businesses. We help businesses. The most important thing is this here: you as a business, we've helped businesses win over $2 billion in government contracts. Now, in terms of contract itself, when I'm talking about IDIQs and other things, probably over $250 billion in IDIQ and other type of contracts. But in terms of revenue generated, over $2 billion in revenue generated for the companies that are members of the association. That's part of our community here. For the work that we've done, I was named, awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by President Obama, the Global Humanitarian Award, and Governor Brian Kemp named me a Goodwill Ambassador for the state of Georgia. So our work is meaningful to the community, meaningful to you as a business community. And that's why we're here, right? We exist. We're here for you. That's why we do all the different things that we're doing. Now, if you're joining us on replay, or if you're watching this on one of our social channels, whether it's on LinkedIn or on YouTube or Facebook, like, subscribe, follow us. That goes a great way for us here. That's really the only thing I ask back from you here. So what will you learn, right? We're talking about the gold rush is real. It's happening right now. And I'll share some stories in a little bit here. So gold rush is happening right now. We're going to be talking about that there. Also, what is the fiscal year at the federal, state, and the private sector? When is the best time to market? When is the best time to build relationship? When is the best time to sell to agency? When should you engage contracting officers, and when are they most receptive to hear from you? So we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to talk about the 10 steps that contracting officers and agencies go through to engage you as a business owner, and how to take advantage of the fiscal year itself. And then you can get a copy of the presentation here. I will put a link to the PowerPoint presentation. So feel free to take notes, as much notes as you want. But I will give you a copy of the PowerPoint also. So let me go ahead and put this in the chat, so you can download it in the chat. When you do go to it, you do need to sign up to be part of the community. It's free to sign up to be part of the community if you're not already a member. Or should you choose to become a paid member, we have a lot of resources in there, lots of great bonuses, lots of good contents in there. We do classes, 3 to 4 classes every single week. So as a member, most of our classes are free to you as a member of the community. So check out that there. So let's continue here. So let me talk a little bit about Sheena Parker. Sheena is a member and she attended class just like some of you are in this class here. Her company is called Foresight Industry. She is in facilities, janitorial, and in her first 3 months of the class, she won 5 contracts. In fact, she reached out to me. She said, "Abe, I got this contract and I can't take any more projects. I'm thinking about not accepting the contract." And I said, "Sheena, when you win a contract, you have to take it. If you don't have a very good reason of why you can't take the contract, you can get on the EPLS, right? The excluded party list system. If you bid on it, you win. Find a way to support it. If you need subcontractors, let me know. I can find you some subcontractors." But she won 5 contracts in 3 months, attending classes. So all of you who are in class here, I promise to give you everything I can in the next 60 minutes or less than 60 minutes now. But if you stay to the end, I've got some great bonuses, some great surprises for all of you. Stick to the end here. And I'm going to give you a winning proposal and the email samples that we're going to be talking about. What to say to a contracting officer. Going to show you that email sample at the end so that you can use that or adapt that email to your specific situation. So with that, let's talk about the fiscal year. Fiscal year in this regard. In the fiscal year, this is the period where the government make their plans, and this is their accounting or what they call their budget year. They're for budget purposes here. It's the financial year and is the budget year. So why should you care, right? You're on the left here, the government's on the right. You have a sales process, a sales cycle. The government has a buying cycle, a buying process. When you understand the two and where the two aligns, that's where revenue happens for your business. So let me say that again. The government has a buying cycle, you have a buying cycle. They're different. If you don't understand the government buying cycle, you're not going to succeed to the maximum potential. You might win a few here and there, but if you don't understand the fiscal year, it's going to hurt you because you're going to be marketing in the wrong time. You're going to be reaching out to the contracting officer when they don't need you to reach out to them. There's a time where contracting officer goes on vacation. There's a time where the contracting officer are awarding contracts. There's a time where they can meet with you, time where they don't want to meet with you. So understanding the fiscal year matters to you as a business owner. So there's different types of fiscal year, right? There's a traditional business fiscal year, which is for most of you small business owners, it is January to December 31st, January 1st to December 31st. For federal agencies, 99.9999% or really all of federal agencies, they use October 1st to September 30th. And we are in the 3rd quarter right now. And so there's been a tremendous crunch. And we'll come back and talk about that pressure in a second. And then most states, their fiscal year starts on July 1st and ends on June 30th. So we are in the 4th quarter for the states right now. So if the state is a great agency for you to sell to, this is the crunch time for them. The most pressure is right now. They have to spend right now before the end of June 30th. So states, that's the time. 46 states uses June 30th as the end of the year. Now, Alabama, they use the fiscal year for the federal, which is September 30th. Michigan is September 30th. New York ends on March 31st, and Texas, August 31st. But all the other states use July 1st to June 30th. So, what are some things to look at, right, when it comes to first, second, third quarter as it relates to the states? So, for most states, the 46 states, first quarter, they're doing some planning, some project kickoff, things that have been awarded now is getting performed on. They're managing work that's being performed on. Second quarter, this is where they're kicking off the year. Governor is reviewing what's happening. Third quarter, legislators are reviewing for next year's budget, and then fourth quarter they're planning out and they're actually implementing, and they have to spend all of the awards during the fourth quarter. That's true for all fiscal year. By the fourth quarter, they must spend that money, right? So state counties, this is what that looks like, right? For counties and cities and education and school system, they have different type of fiscal year. Most of them use June 30th as the 43% of them use June 30th. Some of the counties and cities, education and school system, December 31st, 37 of them. September 30th is 9%, and other months is 11%. But practically, for the fiscal year, this is how organizations, whether it's government, private sector, this is how they think about the fiscal year. It normally fits through a natural business cycle. So they look at it from, okay, what's the normal business cycle for our organization? That's how they look at it, whether it's an agency or a business, right? So for businesses, they have a calendar year as well. And 65% of the publicly traded companies absolutely have a fiscal year. They use the traditional calendar year, 65 of them. 99% of all small businesses use the calendar year. So the calendar year is January 1st to December 31st. 65% publicly traded company, 99% all small business use the traditional calendar year. Now there are some other companies, they use a different type of fiscal year. Retail related stores, they use February 1st to January 31st. They don't use the calendar year, January 1st to December 31st. They use the February 1st to January 31st. Now, I'd like to ask some of you, why do you think retail stores use this fiscal year instead of January to December? Why February? Why February to January? Any thoughts? Give me some comments here. Or if you're watching on this replay, put your comments in the chat area. Now, for school systems, they use a different fiscal year. They're going from July 1st to June 30th. Now, why do you think school system use July 1st to June 30th, right? Why? What do you think, right? Why retail stores February 1st to January? Why school system July 1st to June 30th? I'll give you a quick tip on school system. Because teachers, the school year starts usually, right? The school year ends in late May or sometime in June. So the school year ends, so they align their fiscal year based upon the school calendar. For retail stores, they work, someone says Christmas sales, yes. So the biggest buying season for retail stores starts on Black Friday, but although Black Friday starts way earlier nowadays, but it typically is middle of November and it ends December 31st for retail stores. So if we're thinking about the buying cycle, but it's February 1st. So there's a small little glitch there that we have to address. People give gifts during the holiday season. They buy things for other people. But the reason why it doesn't end on December 31st is this here. What happens when you receive a gift that you're not happy with? There's a return policy. Usually there's a 30-day return policy. So for retail stores, they have to accommodate. Yes, they sold $500 million worth of goods, but there may be 10% of that, 50 million of that is returns. So they have to wait and account for that. And so that's why their fiscal year starts on February 1st. So it fits their whole cycle in that regard. Now, resorts, they start on October 1st and ends on September 30th. Why? Because, kids are back in school. The winter is approaching, fall is coming around. And so the biggest travel season and vacation time is over. And so they end at September 30th because that fits their traditional cycle for resorts and vacations, hotels, and so forth. So most federal agency, state agency, they go through a procurement process. It starts with a need. And we have a problem. We have a need. Then they go through, we have to have a budget of when we're going to purchase this here. Then they go through the forecast and put in a timeline. What day, what month we're going to forecast purchasing this product here. And then they have to do a market research, market study. When they do the market study, it comes out as a sources sought. It comes out as a RFI, request for information, and sometimes as a pre-solicitation. This is the best time for you to engage them during the the market survey or the sources sought phase, because this is where they can still sole source it to you, or this is where they can set aside for a small business, for women-owned, 8A, and so forth. The many company, most of you wait until step number 5, where it comes out as an RFP or RFQ, or invitation for bid, IFB. This is a little bit too late because this is public. Everybody sees this here now. If you haven't not been tracking it at step need, the step 2 budget, step 3 forecast, or the market survey phase, you're a little bit behind now, because if you're waiting until it comes out as a solicitation, everybody sees it. There's no competitive advantage for you. So it's always better for you to learn how to identify the pain points that agencies have early, how to identify the budget needs, and how to get involved in the forecast. Today, I'm not going to teach you how to do step 1 through 4 because we're talking about the fiscal year. I want you to understand the cycle that they go through. And I'm going to teach you when is best time in the fiscal year and when you should start engaging them so that you can get some sole source in a different perspective here. Step number 6 is the proposal, right? When should you, they go through a proposal review phase. They go through an award phase, and then they manage the performance. You as a business, they award it to you, they manage the performance of it. And then step 9 is making sure that you are compliant with all of the requirements, the reporting, insurance requirement, accounting, DCA, and the cyber requirements, and so forth. And then there's a closure. So these are the 10 steps that the agency, that what they go through to engage you. Now, you as a business, you go through steps as well to engage an agency. I call it Astor and Rob CC and the Goddess of Government Contracting. So there's 12 steps that you go through to engage them. Agency goes through 10 steps. Now, when I say 10 steps, this is a oversimplification. Let me say that again. They go through hundreds, if not thousands, of steps from need all the way to closure, to close out that project that's been awarded to your business. But it's really more than 10 steps. This is just a oversimplification for training purposes so that you can understand the big picture. You as a business, you go through 12 steps. And again, this is a summary of, there's micro steps under each of these big steps here. So you go through an assessment. What are my capabilities? Which agency is best for me? What NAICS code I should identify, what specific niche I should start with. Then you have to strategize, right? You have to say, okay, should I team with other companies? Should I be a subcontractor? Should I be a prime? which agency is ideal for me. Then you have to educate yourself. You have to learn to speak governese, and you have to understand the FAR, the rules, the regulations, compliance, all these different things. That's part of learning how to speak governese. Then you have to get registered as a vendor. Then you have to create a brand, an image that's going to create trust, an image that's going to, you can't win a sole source contract if a contracting officer does not trust you. If a program manager does not trust you, if an end user does not trust you, you're not going to get a sole source contract. So your image matters. How to create an image that's going to create trust. And then marketing, what to say when you're marketing in your email to somebody, to a contracting officer. And how do you build relationship? What do you say? How do you create trust? How do you build your dream 100 in terms of your relationship? There's over 85,000 agencies out there. How do you create trust? And then how do you find opportunities, right? Step 8. Step 9 is how do you write proposals and so forth. Step 10 is once you submit a proposal, you win. Now it's time to deliver, to perform on it. And then step 11 is making sure you stay in compliance with all the requirements. And step 12 is closing out the project so you can invoice, get paid, and move on to the next project. So this is your 12 steps. Now, within this series, you as a vendor, you go through these 12 steps. From my perspective, in terms of how I view this in helping you, I have my own perspective of how I help you as well. Agency have their own perspective, right? So this is the convergence of understanding the agency, understanding your perspective, and understanding how GCA or how we can come and direct you and support you so that there can be a convergence so that you can be successful. And so because of time, I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but these are the key components of what you have to understand of how all this fit together. So first quarter, the government has a need, there's a budget, there's a forecast. For you, you have to do an assessment of where you are, your strategy, your education, and getting registered during the first quarter. Second quarter comes around, the government is doing market research, market studies, surveys, RFI, sources sought. You have to make sure your image, your marketing, your relationship, and you're engaging them at this time here. Third quarter, the government is putting out solicitation, RFP, RFQs, and they're reviewing proposal and they're awarding. For you, you're sourcing opportunities and you're writing proposals. Fourth quarter, government is doing the same thing they're doing the third quarter, and they're managing the performance. There's some compliance and some closure. And for you, you're sourcing opportunities, you're writing proposal, you're delivering work, you're staying compliant, you're invoicing, you're getting paid. So these are the general sense of what happens. Now, yes, there's overlap, right? Some things that's happening first quarter, awards are being made in first quarter, awards being made second quarter, but the bulk, the general sense of when things happen at what quarter, that's really what I'm talking about. So let's talk about fourth quarter here. There are some key initiatives that you have to pay attention to. So during the fourth quarter, there is a big push. And this is the end of the year, and contract must be awarded at the federal level before September 30th. At the state and local level, most of it is June 30th. There is a tremendous amount of pressure. Now, let's talk about our current time frame right now. And I'm going to give you some real world examples here. For the last 5.5 months, 4-5 months since the end of the fiscal or the beginning of the fiscal year, October 1st to December, not much contract was awarded at the federal level. January to April, because of DOGE, because of tariffs, because of all the changes, a lot of contracts were not awarded. Contracting officers were afraid of losing their job. Lots of different challenges were happening at the federal level, and projects, opportunities were sitting, and they were stacking up. Day by day, projects that were normally awarded were stacking up. So what I'm seeing right now, I'm seeing that contracting officers are feeling a tremendous amount of pressure to put projects out. Practically, what does that mean? They have a small window to award all these contracts between now and the end of the year, and they're overwhelmed right now. So specifically, I'm seeing emails from contracting officer to some of the small businesses that we're supporting, and they're saying, hey, I'm looking for a company that have this NAICS code. I'm looking for maybe an 8A company that can do this type of work. And if you're interested, we're planning to put out an RFI in the near future. Uh, Let us know so we can put you on the list so that we can send you, so we can inform you of when this is coming out. Now, if you receive an email like that from a contracting officer, let me interpret that for you. This is a real world example here. One of the companies that I'm supporting, they do staffing solutions. They receive a similar email from a contracting officer that they've been in building a relationship with over the last few years. They receive an email like that. And I said, let me interpret it for you. The contracting officer is saying, I want you to find me an 8A company. I know you're not 8A certified. Find me an 8A company. Bring the 8A company to me, and I will sole source you a contract. That's how I read that email. He read it as, oh, the contract officer is just looking for an 8A company. We're not 8A, so we're not going to respond. So he said, hey, but you sure that's what they're saying? I said, yes. Let me connect you to 8A company. Both of you, can respond to the contract officer saying that you have a teaming partner that's 8A certified, and ask for the contract officer to sole source you the contract. So he did that, and the contract officer said, yeah, I can sole source it to you. $4.5 million sole source contract, because they understood the hidden message that the contract officer was saying. Now, why did the contracting officer send a cryptic email, a generic email, right? Contracting officer cannot show favoritism. They cannot just say, oh, I want to sole source you a contract without justification. So when they're sending a market research, a generic email, they have to say it in a way that's neutral. They will say, oh, we're looking for a women-owned business. We're looking for a veteran-owned business. We're looking for an 8A company. They're going to say in a very neutral way. And they're not going to say, we're looking to sole source. They're going to say, we want to add you to our list, or we're doing a market research. What they're really saying is we're trying to sole source a contract. And I've heard that from a construction company. I've heard that from a document management company. I've heard that from a staffing company very recently. And and that's just in the small circle that I'm at, right? There's a lot of things happening right now. So, quick dive into what's happening. Here's what I mean by that. If I'm going to sam.gov and I'm coming in here, I'm going to go to advanced search, and I'm looking at notice type, and I'm putting in here source, nope, not sources sought. Oh, not that. Set aside type. So I'm putting in here set aside 8A sole source, 8A set aside. As of right now, there's 365 projects that have been set aside or is being sole sourced to 8A company as we speak right now, real time here. This is not you. Hopefully it's you, because you're watching this video here. You're watching, you hang out with me, and you're saying, oh, you know what? I need to use an email technique that Abe's going to share with me in a little bit and start engaging these contracting officers so that I can get the sole source contract. So if you are interested, stick around. I'm going to show you the email that you can use. And you can come in here and you can do same thing for women owned, right? You can come in here and we could put in here women owned, set aside, women owned sole source. There's currently 352 projects for women owned sole source or women owned set aside active right now. Hopefully this will be you if you're a women owned business, right? So I'm gonna continue because we have a few other things to talk about, and then I'm gonna show you the email technique. So where are we in this time frame here? So we are at a point where the government is feeling the pressure. They have to use the money or they will lose it. Use it or lose it time right now. And or they can get their budget cut for the following year because they say, oh, since you didn't have the same need, we're going to, Congress is going to deallocate funding to the agency. So I've seen it where agency will reach out to, like I was working with a company that does audio equipment. Um, and the agency just reach out to them, say, hey, we want to buy some audio equipment from you. Because it's a small purchase. Anything that's a micro purchase, $10,000 or less at that time, they can just pick up a phone and call and order from you. Now the micro purchase threshold have changed, and I'm gonna show to you in a little bit here. So let's look at what has happened in historically in a fiscal year. This is an example of a fiscal year here. So if we look at this here, we see that the fourth quarter, they award the most contract. July, August, and September is where the bulk of contracts are awarded. And we see that of the $750 billion, $246 billion, or close to half of it, about 40 something percent, was awarded during the fourth quarter. And so we're going into that fourth quarter right now. So DOD awards the most contracts, DOE, Department of Energy, and then the VA and so forth, right? So $750 billion was awarded in 2024. Close to the same amount was awarded in 2023 as well. So CDC in the state of Georgia, where we're based out of, some of you are based out of Georgia. They are the largest contracting agency in the state of Georgia, and over $6 billion. Now, this changed from year to year, but very, lots of opportunities out. 60% of contracts are bidded in terms of competitive. And then 40% of it is not competed for different reasons. It could be sole source. It could be a direct award. It could be where only one company have that product or that technology. For example, if the DOD wants to buy missile defense, they're not going to put it out for competition for a few reasons. One, there's only maybe one company that can build that. Or two, for national security reason, they're going to sole source it to a big company. So there's different type of sole source, right? For most of you, we're talking about sole source for small businesses, but there's sole source for different reasons as well. So you're a small business in the middle here. You need relationship with the end user, the top green. You need relationship with contract officer. You need relationship with small business advocates. You also need relationship with large prime, small businesses, and you need relationship with your contracting team or your capture team. These are the relationships you need to get sole source contracts. So during the fourth quarter, in terms of, is it the best time to build a relationship? No, it's not. But there's certain things that you can do and during the fourth quarter here. One is during fourth quarter, there's simplified acquisition that agencies are trying to put out. Simplified acquisition procedure, the simplified acquisition threshold is $350,000. It used to be $250,000, but it just got changed, increased to anything less than $350,000. The contractor officer must make every effort to award it to a small business. And then sole source threshold is a direct award to one company, is price negotiated. There's no lengthy procurement process. And the threshold just got changed from $4.5 million for civilian agencies to $5.5 million. And DOD is $8 million. So you can win a sole source contract up to $5.5 million or $8 million with DOD. So, and we're going to be talking about an email and what to say in the email so that you can get sole source contract during the third and fourth quarter. And then micro purchases is anything used to be 10,000, but they increased it to 15,000. Anything under 15,000 can be done through a purchase order, or can be done through a phone call or through an email, or they can buy it directly from your website if you have product listed on your website. Micro purchases for some agencies, like state counties, they might call it small purchases. But the federal, they call it micro purchases, and the threshold is 15,000. Now, I've seen some states and some university where what they consider small is 100,000 or less. So different agencies have different threshold. At the federal level, is $15,000 or less is considered micro purchase, and they just do a purchase order. So what should you do in the fourth quarter? This is the time to pump up the volume, right? This is the time for you to do some proposal writing. This is the time to look for opportunities and submit proposal. It's not time to network, not in the sense of trying to build relationship for long-term purposes. This is the time for you to just put out a lot of proposals. Find up, even though you don't have relationship, this is the time to write proposals because they're going to choose based upon proposals that they receive. So if you normally put out one proposal a month, this is the time to put out about two or three. This is the time to put out about one or two every week for the next 4-5 months that's remaining in this fiscal year, because there's a lot of pressure right now. Again, like I said earlier. Also, if you're marketing, you're sending email to contracting officer and you're sending it to small business specialists, you reach out to your SBA boss. You're trying to say, hey, what projects are out there that you can sole source or that you need to get off your plate? I do have a list of small business specialists that's available. The link to download the presentation, I shared with you earlier in the beginning. If you don't have that, I'm going to show you how to get a copy of the list of all the small business specialists in the government at the federal level. And then also, I'm going to show you how to find contracting officers on SAM or on any other system. And you just go to sam.gov. I'm going to show you from govgenie.com as well. And then you can go and search for these contracting officers. You want to find contract officers that's awarding contract based upon your NAICS code, and then you want to email them. And there's going to, if you build up this list here, then you can engage them so that you know that they award contract based upon what you're doing. So build your list, and then we're going to market to them. So this is the email sample here. So let me break down this email here. You're going to email contract officer starting right now. You don't have to wait till fourth quarter because the pressure is right now. So the subject line, change the subject line. You might change the subject line to forecasted acquisition needs. You might change the subject line to micro purchases or simplify acquisition opportunities. You might change the subject line to however you want to tweak it for your situation. But the email, you take the sample, tweak it a little bit here and there to your situation. First name. I believe I don't call someone by Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith because in my opinion, friends do business with friends. So when I'm talking to you, I'm going to call you by your first name. You might be Dr. Roger Smith. I'm not going to call you doctor, right? Because my friends who are doctor, I'm not going to call them Dr. Smith. I call them by their first name. And so I remove the formality. Why? Because friends do business with friends. So in this situation, I just call people by their first name. And if they're offended by it, that's maybe there are some people who are very formal, right? And so if you are formal, then be you. Do you. Don't let my opinion change you, right? If you want to call people by Dr. Smith or Lieutenant Colonel John Smith, whatever you want to call them, that's up to you. But my perspective is friends do business with friends. So I remove all the formality, starting with the first email here. Hey, John, I know the fourth quarter is around the corner. And you might, because we're not quite in the fourth quarter yet. So you might want to say, I know the fourth quarter is coming upon us. That's exactly why I'm sending you this email. I want to be a resource for you for any micro purchases, simplify acquisition, or sole source needs during this time. You can use us for these quick acquisitions. So I'm speaking the same language that the contractor officer is speaking. I'm using micro purchases. Why? Because I know it's $15,000 or less. I'm using simplify acquisition because I know 350,000 or less, they have to go to a small business first. I'm using sole source, 5.5 million or less, they can sole source it to my 8A company or my women-owned business. We specialize in 3 things. Don't put 20 things. Please do not put 20 things in what you specialize in. Why? Because when you're researching the contracting officer, you're building your list, you're using what NAICS code they specialize in. So you're addressing, we specialize in administrative management. We specialize in HR solutions. We specialize in staffing solutions. We specialize in janitorial services. We specialize in facilities management. We specialize in renovations. We specialize in construction management. Be specific because you're trying to, the contracting officer, when they have a stack of projects that they have to put out, it's not general to them. It's a specific problem that they have. And what this email is trying to do is you're identifying contracting officer that matches, that buys services that you're, or products that you're selling, and you're speaking those, choosing of the 10, 15, 20 different things that you offer, 3 things that speaks to them. And then the next part of the email here is, as an 8A company, we can respond very quickly to your sole source initiatives or simplify acquisition needs. I can have my SBA BOS send you a requirement letter as needed. Now, if you are women-owned, you're not using FAR 19803, right? You're using a different FAR. Now you're saying, okay, we're not 8A. Which FAR should we use? Well, you want to go and I'm going to teach you how to do that, right? You go to FAR sole source SDVOSB, right? So for SDVOSB is 191406. If you are women-owned, right, you change it to WSB. So WSB is FAR 1506 or 191506. FAR 19, if you have not read the FAR, absolutely required for you to read FAR 19. FAR 19 talks about small business set aside, small business sole source. Most of you are small businesses here, and it talks about you. So you may not read all of the FAR, over 2,000 pages, but you must read FAR 19 because that's exactly the strategies that you need to win contracts. So this is what you're doing, right? In the email, you're speaking to the contracting officer. So in the email, you're going to end it with your email signature, and you're going to include your capability statement. Now, in your capability statement, you want to make sure that you speak to the specific NAICS code here that they're buying, and you include that in your capability statement. Don't put funeral services and computer services. They're too far apart, right? Speak to exactly what you're doing that aligns with the contracting officer, what they're buying right now. So let's go and give you an example of how do you build your list of contracting officer. Well, first, there's 2 resources I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you GovGenie as one of the resources. So you go to govgenie.com and come in. If you're currently not on GovGenie, you can come in and sign up for a starter free account, a try account. You can come in and do that. I'm already on GovGenie. So when you come in here, you go to opportunities, click on contracts on the top right here. It's going to pull up here. And so in NAICS code, you're going to go to NAICS code. And some of you, if you're in IT, 541512, this is one of the IT NAICS code. And I'm trying to find a list of all the contracting officers that buy my IT services. So to me, it doesn't matter what they're actually buying here. I'm just aggregating a list of contracting officers that buy what I buy, that buy what I sell. So here you have the list right here, right? Contracting officer Noah Padilla. And this is Noah's email address. So now I'm first in my Excel sheet or in my tracking sheet, I'm going to, you can add this into your bid board. So you can add it to your bid board. That's one way of how you track it. Or you can just add this to your Excel sheet or to your CRM, and you want to include the name, the email. Sometimes they give a phone number. include the phone number and the NAICS code, and maybe a description of this of what they're actually of what why you added them to the your tracking sheet. So when you're emailing them, in the verbiage you're using, you can use the proper verbiage based upon what they're buying and the NAICS code. So this is one way of how you do it. The other way of how you want to do it is, so you can just come in here and just find different contracting officers that's buying your NAICS code. Here's another one, Cornelia Stevens. Cornelia Stevens at HHS. This is a contract officer that is buying 541 512. Or you can use sam.gov, right? If you're on SAM, you click on contracting, come in here, click on advanced search. And in advanced search, you want to specifically narrow it down based upon your NAICS code. So in this situation, I'm going to put in here 611430, which is training and HR and other stuff. So right now there's 269 projects. And so I'm just going to choose one, leadership development. If you do leadership training, click on this here. And boom, at the very end, Jaron Bowman. This is their email address. Or you can actually add both, right? Daryl Hutchins. And this is their email address. And you can email them. The email sample I showed you, adapt it, to your situation. Don't use the exact email that I showed you. That's the principle of what you want to say, right? So that's how you build your list. So if you have questions, put in the chat. We're gonna do a little bit of Q&A in a little bit here. If you want a copy of this email here, I'm gonna show you how you can get a copy of this email here in a second. But let's continue. I have a few other things. What I share with you today is a small component of what we teach in our Certified Capture Management program. So the CCM program, or the Certified Capture Manager program, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what this is about. And so in the government market, we don't call it sales. We don't call it business development. We call it capture management. And so really, you as a small business owner, you are the capture manager. Or if you are a salesperson working for another company, you are the capture manager in the government market. So capture manager is someone who handles sales. That's really the short definition of it, right? A capture manager is responsible for winning business in the government market. They're responsible for overseeing the strategies, the teaming, the pricing, proposal strategies, business development, sales, and then making sure that the bid is submitted. And when it's awarded, making sure that you're not responsible for performance, but you want to make sure that performance is going well. So that's really a capture manager, right? So you help company win contracts. So why should you consider joining the next certified capture manager class that we have? One is it helps you to win more contracts. That's why you should consider it. Benefits of being in the program. It distinguishes you from everybody else. The CCM professional designation is recognized as a professional educational program. It's the only capture management program in the world that we know of that is recognized by a state as a college equivalent, or what they call post-secondary educational program, that is a professional certification program. And it expands your knowledge. We give you 3 years of knowledge in 14 weeks. And then you adhere to a professional code of ethics and conduct. You gain a competitive edge over your competitors by being equipped with all this knowledge here. And more importantly, if you are a salesperson, you have the potential to increase your income. The average capture manager makes $159,000. So it's capture manager makes more than salespeople. Salespeople, the average salary is about $60,000. So as a capture manager, you actually increase by $100,000 by being a capture manager. You're still doing sales, just in a different niche, right? So what do you receive in the CCM program? 14 weeks of training. You receive the Gov Fast Track software. You receive the Gov LMS software. You receive a video course, a business coach, 2-day boot camp. You get the exam to become a certified capture manager, the practice portal, and you get to network in a professional environment. We assign you a study partner, and you go through this here in 14 weeks. So very, very powerful program. The Gov Fast Track software is really the bread and butter of all of the knowledge that you're going to amass in a very short period of time. I'm going to give you a quick demo of that, what that looks like when you enroll in the CCM program. So in the CCM program, as you go through the CCM, this is what you receive here, right? We take you through all these steps from assessment, strategy, education, registration, promotion. If you're saying, okay, I want to build a brand that's going to speak to government buyers, or the email marketing techniques that we talk about, right? The email templates are right here. You click on this here, the email templates are right here. And you open up the email template. And in the email template, it's going to look like this here. So this is the email templates. And it tells you what to do. If you're emailing a contract officer, this is a variation of what I showed you earlier. This is what it says. If you're requesting for an appointment, this is what you say in the email. If you are doing a follow-up email, this is what you say. So all the templates are already in the software, right? They're already in the system. All you have to do is follow the step here. If you're looking to network, what do you go to network? This is where you go to network. If you're looking to build relationship, how do you build your Dream 100? We teach you how to build your Dream 100. Where do you go and find small business officers? Where do you go and find large primes? And how do you team? And where do you go and find large companies that's looking for small business? These are all the resources. All of this here we teach you, right? Today, where I'm teaching you how to do email to contracting officer, this is one component of what the whole CCM program teaches you. Proposals, we teach you how to find opportunities, how to write emails. I mean, how to write proposals. And we teach you how to find past, present, and future projects and all of that stuff in there. So you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of steps is covered in the CCM program. And all the links, all the resources, the templates, the attachments already all in here. We take you through about 960 plus steps so that you can be properly equipped to be successful in the government market. So that is the CCM program. If you are interested to learn more about it, it is available. We are starting the next cohort in a very short period of time. On May 15th, the next cohort is happening. There is an investment to be in the CCM program. But for those of you who are members or who are joining this podcast here, this session here, you can go to capturemanagement.org, and it is available to you at the $6,000 rate. So I'll put that in the chat. And if you have a tight budget, we do have payment plans. Just let us know, and we can help you to get into a payment plan. We have never turned anybody down because they can't make an upfront payment. We have worked with everybody that wants to be part of the capture management program. We have found a way to get everybody enrolled. So if you have tight budget, now if you can afford it, just get into the program. It's going to change your life. The most successful companies that we have worked with went through the 14 weeks capture management, certified capture manager program here. So let's talk about, for those of you that stuck with me to the end, let's talk about your bonuses, right? I've got some awesome bonus for you here. This here is a $20 billion winning proposal. If you go to govassociation.org/bonuses, you can get that. And the email samples, we have email samples that we talked about. We have capability statement samples. All of that is available to you. Now, the techniques we teach, these are real examples of what we do and we teach, right? Barbara went through the class and she said, hey, the CDC wants to meet with me. I did some marketing and CDC wants to meet with me. We prepped her, prepared her capability PowerPoint presentation. She met with the CDC. They sole sourced her a $3.7 million sole source contract. So the technique, the principles that we teach, everyday real businesses are implementing them and they're winning contracts. Buki, she went out there and she did she got a sub, we teach a subcontracting technique. She was able to go out there and win her first subcontracting project, $60,000 with the Army. And the Army came back to her and re-awarded her that contract 27 times over the next year and a half. She did $1.6 million, $1.7 million in her first year and a half as a subcontractor. And then she also received a $900,000 sole source contract from the CDC as well. So what should you do? To learn more, we have the CCM program is available. We have the GovCon community, and you can email us directly at info@govcontractors.org. With that said, let me share how do you download today's PowerPoint presentation. To download today's PowerPoint presentation, you take this link here, and I will put it back into the chat again for some of you who join us a little bit later. You take this link here, and I'm going to show you how to do that there. And you paste it in your browser, and it takes you into the community, and it says end of the year Gold Rush link. So click on this link here. It's gonna you can download it here. Now you want to go join. Joining is free for you who are part of the community. Who's not a member, is still free to download this here. It is locked, but you have to just click on it, join, and then you put your email, contact information, and you can sign up. So there's no cost to be part of the community. To enjoy some of the benefits, we have free resources in here. You can come and look at. We put news, aggregate all the contracting news into one place. We have industry events. If you want to look at more events to attend, we put all of the government contracting related events in here. All the podcasts, all of this here is in here. And the free resources are here. We put different resources, and the downloadable content, like today's PowerPoint presentation, is here. So you just come in here and download it right here, and that's how you get access to the information. So with that, if you do decide to join the community, we do have additional benefits, lots of other benefits. We do about 3 to 4 classes every single week, similar to this. And almost all of our classes are free to our members. So you're welcome to come and join us and hang out. Membership starts at $1 for a free trial, or for $1 for a trial of 7 days to take advantage of all the benefits that we have. And so just $1 to get started as a member, and then you can choose different tiers that you want. So with that, I want to see if there's any questions or comments, and then we will wrap it up in a second here. So let me see if there's any comments or questions. If you have questions, this is a good time to put your questions into the comments area. Okay, I don't see any questions. For those of you who join us live, if you do have questions, put in the chat. This is the time to do that there. If you're watching us on replay, don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and follow us here. We do our podcast every single week at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. So let me say that, 11:30 Eastern, not Pacific, not Central, not Mountain, but Eastern time. Next week, if you want to come back and hang out with me, next week, my co-host will be joining us again. We will be talking about grants next week. This week, we talk about contracts. Next week, we're going to be talking about grants. And we're going to be looking at a case study of a nonprofit organization that have grown their initial nonprofit, how they were able to go out there and get some grants from the federal government, and how they grew that with the Department of Justice and with other agencies. And then we're going to look at the challenges, some of the challenges that they faced, and what they can do and what you can do to overcome some of the challenges as you continue to grow your organization. The world ebb and flow, right? The world is not constant. Life cycle change in terms of procurement cycles, agency focus change, budget gets cut. How do you adjust? So next week, that's what we'll be talking about. We're going to look at a specific use case, a specific nonprofit organization, what they did to expand and grow, and challenges that they're facing and what they need to do to overcome it. So there's lessons to be learned from that for next week if you join us for the Grants and Contracting podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and remember, you are one grant and one contract away from your goals, from the next hire, from the higher salary that you want to pay yourself, from the next vacation you want to take. One grant, one contract away. Until then, I will see you in another episode. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. And we will see you in another episode. And good luck on all your marketing technique. And don't forget to go and download that template there. Use it to help you to engage contracting officers so that you can get some sole source contract. Have a good one. Take care.